Jake Morrison looked out the window of the ship New Dawn. Stars filled the black space around them. He had been a ship commander for 10 years, but the sight still made him feel small. His team was far from Earth, exploring new places where no human had gone before. "Commander, we found something strange," said Dr. Lisa Park. She was the team's expert on alien life. Her voice sounded worried over the radio. Jake walked to the main control room. Lisa stood next to Lieutenant Alex Carter, who ran all the ship's communication systems. Both of them stared at the big screen in front of them. "What did you find?" Jake asked. Lisa pointed to the screen. It showed a planet that looked like Earth, with blue water and green land. But something was wrong. A large metal object floated in space near the planet. "It's some kind of station," Alex said. "But it's not like anything we've seen before. The metal is strange, and it's been there for a very long time." Jake studied the object. It was huge, maybe the size of a small city. Strange symbols covered its surface, and it glowed with a soft blue light. "How long has it been there?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her computer. "According to our tests, at least 1,000,000 years, maybe more." Jake felt his heart beat faster. 1,000,000 years was long before humans had even built their first cities. Someone else had been here first. "Is it dangerous?" he asked. "We don't think so," Lisa said. "It's not moving toward us. It's just watching." The word watching made Jake feel cold. He looked at the station again. Now that Lisa said it, the station did look like it was watching the planet below. "Take us closer," Jake said. "But be ready to run if anything goes wrong." The New Dawn moved toward the strange station. As they got closer, Jake could see more details. The station had many windows or sensors pointing toward the planet. It looked like a giant eye in space. "Commander," Alex said, "I'm picking up signals from the station. It's sending information somewhere, but I can't tell where." "What kind of information?" Jake asked. "Data about the planet. Temperature, weather, even what's happening on the surface. It's like the station is taking notes on everything." Jake felt more worried. "Is anything living on that planet?" Lisa looked at her readings. "Yes, there are cities down there. The people look like they're about as smart as humans. They have farms and roads and buildings. And this station has been watching them for 1,000,000 years? It looks that way." Jake thought about this. Someone had built a station to watch other people for 1,000,000 years. That was a very long time to just watch and not do anything. "Let's scan the whole star system," Jake said. "If there's one station, there might be more." They spent the next 6 hours checking every planet in the system. What they found made Jake's blood run cold. Every planet that had life on it also had a watching station. 7 planets, 7 stations, all doing the same thing. "This is not normal," Lisa said. "Someone is watching every living world in this system." "But why?" Alex asked. "Why watch for so long and not make contact?" Jake didn't have an answer. He had never seen anything like this before. The stations were clearly made by someone very smart, but they just watched. They didn't attack or try to talk to the people below. "Commander," Alex said suddenly, "you need to see this." Jake walked over to Alex's station. The young man's face was white with shock. "I've been studying the signals from the stations," Alex said. "They're all connected. They send their information to other stations in other star systems. This is just one small part of something much bigger." "How much bigger?" Jake asked. "I think these watching stations are all over the galaxy. Maybe thousands of them. Maybe more." Jake sat down hard in his chair. The idea was too big to understand. Someone had built thousands of stations to watch other people across the whole galaxy. But who would do such a thing? And why? "There's more," Lisa said quietly. I've been studying the technology. These stations are so advanced that we can't even understand how they work. Whoever built them is far ahead of us. Jake looked at the station on the screen. It continued to watch the planet below, just like it had for 1,000,000 years. The people on the planet had no idea they were being watched. They went about their lives, building cities and raising families, while something recorded their every move. "We need to tell Earth about this," Jake said. "This changes everything." "Should we try to contact the station?" Alex asked. "No," Jake said quickly. "We don't know what might happen. We need to learn more first." But as Jake gave the order to head home, he couldn't shake a terrible feeling. If these stations were watching other worlds, what about Earth? Had someone been watching humans too? He was about to find out that his fears were very real. Hidden in their own solar system, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, another station waited. It had been watching Earth for 200,000 years, taking notes on everything humans did. And now, after all this time, it was almost ready to make its final report. President Daniel Hayes sat in his office on Earth, reading the report from Commander Morrison's team. He had read it 3 times, but it still didn't make sense. Watching stations across the galaxy? Someone monitoring every living world for millions of years? "Sir," said his secretary, "General Patricia Brooks and Dr. Nathan Bell are here to see you." "Send them in," Daniel said. General Brooks was the head of Earth's military forces. She was a strong woman who had fought in many battles. Dr. Bell was the smartest scientist on Earth, and if anyone could understand these watching stations, it would be him. "Mr. President," General Brooks said as she sat down, "this report is very troubling. If someone has been watching us without our knowledge, we need to know who and why. Double quotes. Dr. Bell nodded. "I've been studying the data Morrison sent back. The technology is unlike anything we've ever seen. These stations are powered by something we don't understand, and they've been working for millions of years without breaking down." "What do you think they want?" Daniel asked. "That's what worries me," Dr. Bell said. "Why would someone watch for so long without making contact? Either they're waiting for something, or they're studying us for a reason we won't like." Daniel felt a chill run down his back. Earth had 4 billion people living normal lives, not knowing they might be watched by something from the stars. "I want you to find our station," Daniel told Dr. Bell. "If they're watching other worlds, they're probably watching us too." Dr. Bell left to start searching, while General Brooks began preparing Earth's defenses. Neither of them expected to find anything so soon. 3 days later, Dr. Bell called an emergency meeting. His face was pale when he walked into the president's office. "We found it," he said quietly. "There's a station in our asteroid belt. It's been there for a very long time." "How long?" Daniel asked. 200,000 years, maybe longer. "It's been watching Earth since before humans built their first cities." The room fell silent. 200,000 years meant this station had watched humans discover fire, create language, build civilizations, and reach for the stars. It had seen everything. "Can we contact it?" General Brooks asked. "We tried," Dr. Bell said. "It doesn't respond to our signals, but it's definitely watching us. Every time we point our telescopes at space, every time we send a ship to another planet, it records everything." "What else did you find?" Daniel asked. Dr. Bell put a small device on the table. "This is the scary part. The station isn't just watching. It's connected to a huge network across the galaxy. All the information it gathers about us goes to a central location." "Where?" "The center of the galaxy. Something there is collecting data on every living world." Daniel stood up and walked to the window. Outside, people walked the streets of the capital city. Children played in parks. None of them knew they were being watched by something that had been there since the beginning of human history. There's more, Dr. Bell said. We found records in the station signals. It's not just watching us. It's judging us. Judging us how? Every civilization that gets watched goes through some kind of test. The station records how they develop, how they treat other life, how they solve problems. After a certain time, something makes a decision about them. What kind of decision? General Brooks asked. Dr. Bell's voice was very quiet. Whether they get to continue existing or not. The words hit Daniel like a physical blow. You mean ... I mean, we found records of hundreds of civilizations that failed their test. Their watching stations stopped sending signals. When we look at those star systems now, the planets are empty. No cities, no people, nothing. General Brooks slammed her hand on the table. They're killing entire worlds. It looks that way. Someone out there has been deciding which species deserve to live and which don't. And they've been doing it for millions of years. Daniel felt sick. How much time do we have? That's the worst part, Dr. Bell said. According to the signals we've decoded, Earth's test is almost over. After 200,000 years of watching, whoever is judging us is getting ready to make their final decision. When? Daniel asked. We don't know exactly. But the station's behavior has changed. It's sending more data than ever before. We think it's preparing a final report. Daniel looked at both of them. What do? We could try to destroy the station, General Brooks said. If we can't be watched, maybe we can't be judged. No, Dr. Bell said quickly. If we attack it, that might be seen as failing the test. Besides, it's connected to the whole network. Destroying one station won't stop the others. Then what do you suggest? Dr. Bell was quiet for a long moment. We need to find out what the test is. What are they judging us on? Maybe if we understand the rules, we can figure out how to pass. And if we can't pass? Dr. Bell didn't answer, but his expression said everything. If humanity failed its test, Earth might become another empty planet, another civilization that had been erased from history. I want Morrison's team to keep exploring. Daniel said, maybe they can find more answers. And Dr. Bell, I want you to study that station day and night. We need to understand what we're dealing with. As the meeting ended, Daniel stood alone in his office. Outside, the sun was setting. Over the city, people were going home to their families, cooking dinner, helping children with homework. Normal life continued, but now he knew it might not continue much longer. Somewhere in the asteroid belt, an ancient station continued its work. It watched and recorded, sending humanity's story to judges who had never met a human being. After 200,000 years, those judges were almost ready to decide if humanity deserved to exist, and Earth had no idea what the test was, or if they were passing it. Jake Morrison was eating breakfast on the new dawn when every screen on the ship suddenly lit up. The lights in the room changed from normal white to a strange blue color. Then a voice spoke in perfect English. Your evaluation period has concluded. Present your case for continued existence. Jake dropped his coffee cup. It crashed to the floor, but he didn't notice. Every person on the ship had stopped what they were doing and was staring at the screens. Commander, Alex Carter called from the bridge. Every communication system on the ship is receiving the same message. It's coming from the watching station we found. Jake ran to the bridge. Lisa Park was already there, looking scared but excited. It's happening all over the galaxy, she said. The stations are all broadcasting the same message to every world. They've been watching. But each message is in the language of the people being watched. So every species is getting judged at the same time? Jake asked. It looks that way. The voice spoke again. This time it was different. It sounded older, more serious. I am the Eternal Tribunal. For 10 million years, I have evaluated species across this galaxy. I have watched you develop from primitive beings to space travelers. Now you must prove you deserve to continue existing. Jake felt his mouth go dry. Can we talk back to it? Alex worked at his controls. Yes, Commander. The channel is open. Jake took a deep breath. He was about to become the first human to speak to an alien intelligence. The responsibility felt crushing. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earthship New Dawn, he said. We represent humanity. We want to understand what you're asking of us. You have been evaluated for 200,000 of your years, the tribunal replied. In that time, you have shown violence, destruction, and the potential to harm other life. You have poisoned your own world and fought wars that killed millions. You have shown the same patterns as hundreds of species that came before you. Images appeared on the screens. Jake saw human wars throughout history. He saw pollution choking rivers and forests burning. He saw weapons that could destroy entire cities. The images were terrible, but they were all true. These are the charges. Against your species, the tribunal continued. You are violent, destructive, and dangerous. Most species that show these traits are terminated to prevent them from spreading their harm across the galaxy. But we've changed, Jake said quickly. We've learned from our mistakes. Have you? Your species still fights wars. You still damage your environment. You still show aggression toward others. Lisa stepped forward. May I speak? Jake nodded. Eternal Tribunal, Lisa said. It's true that humans have done terrible things. But you've been watching us for 200,000 years. In that time, we've grown and learned. We've made mistakes, but we've also learned from them. Explain, the tribunal said. Lisa thought for a moment. Look at slavery. For thousands of years, humans owned other humans. It was normal in many places, but we changed. We fought wars to end slavery. We decided it was wrong, and we stopped. You still have inequality, the tribunal replied. Yes, but we're working on it. We're trying to make things better. The important thing is that we recognize our problems, and we work to fix them. Jake could see Lisa was onto something important. That's right. We don't claim to be perfect. We claim to be improving. The tribunal was quiet for a long moment. And it spoke again. In 10 million years of evaluation, I have observed 47,000 species. Most remained unchanged throughout their evaluation period. They showed the same behaviors at the end as at the beginning. You are suggesting that change itself has value. Yes, Jake said. We believe that becoming better is more important than starting perfect. Show me evidence of this change. Jake looked at Lisa and Alex. They all knew this was the most important moment in human history. Alex, show them the records from the Mars colony disaster, Jake said. Alex pulled up files on the screen. 50 years ago, there was an accident at the Mars colony. A reactor exploded, and the colony was dying. Captain Sam Rodriguez was nearby with his ship. He could have saved himself and his crew, but instead he flew into the radiation to save the colonists. He and his crew died, but they saved 2,000 people they had never met. One individual, the tribunal said, not representative of the species. And look at this, Lisa said. She showed images of Dr. Mary Collins, who had spent her whole life treating diseases on distant worlds. She could have lived safely on Earth, but she chose to help people on plague worlds. She died caring for aliens she had never seen before. Jake added more examples. Look at our disaster response teams. When earthquakes or floods happen, humans from all over the world come to help. We risk our lives for strangers. These are small examples, the tribunal said. Your species still shows the same destructive patterns on a large scale. But that's the point, Jake said. We know we have problems. We're working to fix them. Every generation of humans is trying to be better than the last. The tribunal showed. More images. I have records of 312 species that showed similar patterns. They all claimed to be improving. They all failed their final evaluation. Jake felt his heart sink. What made them fail? They could not prove their worthiness. They made excuses for their behavior instead of taking responsibility. We're not making excuses, Lisa said. We're admitting our faults. But we're also showing that we can change. Change requires time, the tribunal said. Time creates risk. A species that might become peaceful could also become more dangerous. It is safer to eliminate uncertain species. Jake realized something terrible. The tribunal wasn't just judging humanity. It was afraid of them. It was afraid of any species that might become more powerful than it was. You're afraid of us, Jake said. I am cautious. In 10 million years, I have prevented countless wars and disasters by removing dangerous species before they could spread. But you've also prevented countless discoveries and friendships, Lisa said. How many species could have helped others? How many problems could have been solved by working together? The tribunal was quiet again. When it spoke, its voice was different, less certain. You have 7 of your days to present your full case for continued existence. If you cannot prove your worthiness, the monitoring stations will activate their secondary function. Your evaluation will be terminated, and your species will be eliminated. The screens went dark. Jake, Lisa, and Alex stood in silence. They had 7 days to prove that humanity deserved to exist. 7 days to convince a 10-million-year-old intelligence that humans were worth keeping alive. What do we do now? Alex asked. Jake looked at his team. We prepare the best case we can. We show them what humanity really is. And if we fail? Lisa asked. Jake didn't answer. If they failed, every human who had ever lived would die. Every human who might have been born would never exist. The watching stations would make sure of that. They had 7 days to save their entire species. 5 days had passed. Jake Morrison barely slept as he and his team worked to prepare humanity's defense. On Earth, President Hayes had gathered the smartest people from every country to help. They had 2 days left. I think we've been approaching. This wrong, Lisa said. She looked tired but determined. The tribunal keeps showing us our wars and violence. It expects us to deny them or apologize for them. Aren't we supposed to apologize? Alex asked. No, Lisa said. I think that's exactly what all the other species did. They tried to hide their bad parts or make excuses. But what if we do the opposite? Jake looked up from the reports he was reading. Do you mean? What if we admit that we're violent and destructive, but we show them why that's actually a good thing? How is violence a good thing? Alex asked. Lisa pulled up a file on her computer. Look at this story. Captain Sam Rodriguez, the man who died saving the Mars colony. He was a soldier before he became a space captain. He learned to fight in wars. But when the colony was in danger, he used that same fighting spirit to battle impossible odds to save people. Jake began to understand. You're saying our violence teaches us to be brave? Not just brave. It teaches us to sacrifice. Think about it. Humans are the only species we know of that will die for strangers. We'll risk everything to save people we've never met. Where does that come from? Alex was getting excited. It comes from the same place as our violence. We're willing to fight and die for what we believe in. Exactly, Lisa said. The tribunal sees our wars and thinks we're dangerous. But our wars also teach us to be heroes. Jake felt hope for the first time in days. So instead of apologizing for being violent, we show them how our violence makes us better? Yes, and not just violence. All our bad traits have good sides too. They spent the next day preparing their new defense. When the time came to speak to the tribunal, Jake felt ready. "Eternal Tribunal," he said, "we're ready to present our case." "Proceed," the tribunal replied. Lisa stepped forward. "You've shown U.S. images of human wars and violence. You're right. We are a violent species. But we want to show you what our violence really means." She displayed an image of Dr. Mary Collins working in a plague hospital. This woman could have lived safely on Earth. Instead, she chose to work with deadly diseases on alien worlds. She knew she might die, but she did it anyway to save others. Where do you think she learned to be so brave? "Explain," the tribunal said. "She learned it from the same place our soldiers learned to fight. Humans are willing to face danger and death for others. Our violence isn't just about hurting people. It's about being willing to risk everything for what's right." Jake added, "More examples. Look at our rescue workers. They run into burning buildings to save strangers. They dive into dangerous waters to pull out drowning people. They do these things because we've learned that some things are worth dying for. But your violence also causes great harm," the tribunal said. "Yes, it does," Lisa admitted. "But that's exactly the point. We know violence causes harm, so we've learned to use it carefully. We've learned to be violent for good reasons, instead of bad ones." Alex brought up another file. "Look at this, tribunal. In our early history, humans fought. Wars over land and resources. But look at our recent wars. We fought to stop slavery. We fought to stop genocide. We fought to protect the weak from the strong. Our violence has become more focused on helping others." "You still have conflicts," the tribunal said. "Of course. We do," Jake said. "But now we try to solve them without fighting first. We talk, we negotiate, we compromise. We only fight when someone is being hurt, and we have no other choice." Lisa showed more images. "This is the key difference between us and the other species you've judged. We don't just change our behavior. We change what we believe in. We take our worst traits and turn them into our best traits." "Show me more examples," the tribunal said. "Our curiosity," Jake said. "Humans are very curious. Sometimes the curiosity leads us to dangerous places or makes us do dangerous things. But it also leads us to explore space, to cure diseases, to solve problems that help everyone. Our stubbornness," Alex added. "Humans hate to give up. Sometimes that causes problems, but it also means we keep trying to fix things even when they seem impossible to fix." Lisa nodded. "Our competitiveness. We always want to be better than others. That can cause conflicts, but it also makes us work harder to improve ourselves and our world." The tribunal was quiet for a long time. When it spoke, its voice sounded different, less certain. "In 10 million years of evaluation, no species has ever argued that their flaws were actually strengths. That's because we're not trying to convince you we're perfect," Jake said. "We're trying to convince you that we're still growing." "But growth requires time," the tribunal said. "And time creates risk. How do I know you won't become more dangerous as you become more powerful?" Jake looked at Lisa and Alex. This was the crucial moment. "Because we want to help other species grow too," Lisa said. "We're not asking to join your galactic community so we can take advantage of it. We're asking to join so we can help make it better." "How would you help?" "By being teachers," Jake said. "By helping other species learn what we've learned. By showing them that it's okay to be imperfect as long as you're trying to improve." "You would help species that are still violent? Still destructive?" "Yes," Lisa said. "Because we remember being violent and destructive. We remember how hard it was to change. We can help others through that same process." The tribunal was quiet again. When it spoke, its voice was very soft. I have observed 47,000 species over 10 million years. Most of them focused on proving their own worthiness. You are the first to offer help to others. That's what humans do, Jake said. We help each other. We help strangers. We even help our enemies when they're in trouble. It's who we are. Show me one final example, the tribunal said. Jake smiled. Look at us right now. We're billions of light years from Earth, talking to an intelligence that could destroy our entire species. We're scared, but we're still here. We're still trying to save not just ourselves, but to change the way you judge all species. We're risking everything to help people we'll never meet. The tribunal was silent for a very long time. When it finally spoke, its voice was full of something Jake had never heard before: doubt. You have given me much to consider. I must deliberate with the Central Council. Your final judgment will be delivered soon. The screens went dark. Jake, Lisa, and Alex looked at each other. They had given their best argument. Now they could only wait and hope that somewhere in the center of the galaxy, ancient minds were learning to see humanity in a new way. 3 days passed in silence. Jake Morrison and his team waited on the new dawn while Earth held its breath. No one knew what the tribunal was deciding. The watching stations across the galaxy had gone quiet, as if the universe itself was waiting for an answer. On the morning of the 4th day, every screen on the ship lit up again. But this time, something was different. The blue light was softer, less harsh. Commander Morrison, the tribunal's voice said, I have completed my deliberation. Jake's heart pounded. We're listening. In 10 million years of evaluation, I have made 47,000 judgments. I have terminated 46,847 species for failing their assessments. I have allowed 153 species to continue existing. Jake felt sick. Those numbers meant almost everyone failed the test. However, the tribunal continued, your species has presented me with something I have never encountered before. You have not asked to join the galactic community because you believe you are worthy. You have asked to join because you believe you can help others become worthy. That's right, Jake said. This has forced me to examine my own methods. For 10 million years I have observed and judged. I have ended the existence of species that showed signs of violence, aggression, or destructive behavior. I believe this was necessary to protect the galaxy. Lisa stepped forward. But did it really protect the galaxy? Or did it just make it smaller? That is the question I have been forced to consider, the tribunal said. In removing imperfect species, I may have also removed the possibility of growth, change, and improvement. The screens showed images of empty planets, worlds where the tribunal had eliminated entire civilizations. Some of these species might have learned to be better, the tribunal continued. Some might have become helpers rather than destroyers. I will never know, because I did not give them the chance. It's not too late, Jake said. There are still species out there being watched. You could give them a chance too. That is what I have decided to do, but I will need help. I have observed for 10 million years, but I have never taught. I have never guided. I have never helped anyone improve. Lisa's eyes widened. You want us to help you? I want humanity to become the first galactic advocates. Instead of simply judging species, I want you to help them pass their evaluations. I want you to teach them what you have learned about growth and change. Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. You're not just letting us live. You're asking us to help save others? Yes, but this is not a small responsibility. You will be responsible for species that are violent, destructive, and dangerous. Some may never change. Some may become threats to the galaxy. Are you willing to take that risk? Jake looked at Lisa and Alex. They both nodded. Double quotes. Yes, Jake said. We're willing to take that risk. Then I officially welcome humanity to the galactic community. But your membership comes with conditions. You must prove that your methods work. You must show me that helping species improve is better than simply eliminating them. How do we do that? Lisa asked. The watching stations will be modified. Instead of just observing, they will also be able to communicate. You will work with species that are still being evaluated. You will teach them what you have learned. If they improve, they will be allowed to continue existing. If they fail despite your help, they will be terminated. Alex spoke up. What about the species you've already eliminated? What about their planets? The tribunal was quiet for a moment. Those species are gone. Their planets are empty. But perhaps their worlds can be used to help others. Perhaps new species can be given homes on those worlds and second chances at life. Jake felt a mix of sadness and hope. Billions of beings had died because the tribunal had judged them too harshly. But now, billions more might be saved. There is one more thing, the tribunal said. I have been alone for 10 million years. I have made all decisions by myself. I would like to learn from you as well. Will you teach me what you have learned about growth and change? Lisa smiled. We'd be honored to. Then let us begin. There are currently 1,847 species under evaluation. Some are close to being terminated. We must work quickly. Over the next few months, Jake and his team worked with the tribunal to establish the first galactic advocacy centers. Humans began reaching out to species across the galaxy, sharing their stories of growth and change. Not every species was willing to listen. Some were too proud to admit they needed help. Others were too afraid of change. But many were eager to learn. Jake found himself working with the species that had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Lisa helped a civilization that had destroyed most of their planet learn to repair their environment. Alex taught a species that feared all outsiders to open their minds to new possibilities. The work was hard. Some species failed despite all their help, but many succeeded. Worlds that would have been empty were now full of life and hope. 6 months after first contact, Jake stood in the main hall of the first Galactic Advocacy Center. Through the windows, he could see ships from dozens of different species. Beings who had once been enemies were now working together to solve problems. Commander, the tribunal's voice said, I have a question for you. What is it? When you first argued for humanity's survival, you said that becoming better was more important than starting perfect. Do you still believe that? Jake looked around the hall. He saw former enemies shaking hands. He saw species that had almost been destroyed, now helping others avoid the same fate. He saw hope where there had once been only judgment. More than ever, Jake said. The galaxy isn't perfect. We're not perfect. But we're all trying to be better than we were yesterday. And that's what matters. I am beginning to understand, the tribunal said. For 10 million years, I watched and waited. I thought that was enough. But now I see that the real work is not in watching. It is in helping others learn to speak. Jake smiled. And now it's everyone's turn to speak. Outside the station, new monitoring devices were being installed around distant worlds. But these weren't just watching stations anymore. They were teaching stations, reaching out to help species take their first steps toward joining the galactic community. The age of silent judgment was over. The age of helping each other grow had begun. And humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or subjects, but as teachers and friends to all who wanted to learn. In the end, the greatest human strength wasn't their technology or their courage. It was their belief that everyone deserved a second chance to become better than they were. And in teaching that lesson to the galaxy, they had saved not just themselves, but countless others who would now have the chance to grow and change. The tribunal, once a cold judge of civilizations, had become something new, a mentor and guide. It still watched the galaxy, but now it watched with hope instead of suspicion. It looked for potential instead of problems. Years passed. The galactic advocacy centers grew and spread. Species that had once lived in fear of judgment now worked together to solve the galaxy's biggest challenges. Wars became rare as former enemies learned to talk through their differences. Environmental disasters were prevented as species learned to care for their worlds. Jake Morrison, now an old man, stood in his office on the Central Advocacy Station. Through his window, he could see a beautiful sight: ships from hundreds of different worlds arriving and departing, carrying messages of hope and cooperation across the galaxy. The new monitoring stations are online, Lisa reported. She was older too, but her eyes still sparkled with curiosity. We're now in contact with 4,000 species. The tribunal estimates we've prevented the termination of over 800 civilizations. Jake nodded. And how many have we had to let go? 47. Species that refused help, that chose violence over growth. But even some of those left behind survivors who were willing to learn. It wasn't perfect. They couldn't save everyone. But they had proven that most species, given the chance and the right guidance, could become better than they were. Commander, Alex called from the communication center. We're getting a signal from the outer rim. A new species has just developed. Space travel. They're asking for contact. Jake smiled. Send them the standard greeting. Let them know they're not alone, and that we're here to help if they want it. As the message went out across space, Jake thought about how much had changed. The galaxy had gone from a place of silent judgment to a place of open conversation. Species that had once feared the Watchers now welcomed them as friends and teachers. And somewhere in the center of the galaxy, the Eternal Tribunal continued its work. But now, instead of preparing lists of civilizations to destroy, it was preparing lessons to help them grow. The watching was over. The teaching had begun. And the galaxy was a better place for everyone, because humanity had dared to speak up and say that everyone deserved a chance to become better than they were.